Simplified Chaos, episode 94.
Life is beautiful and full of chaos.
And it can get slightly out of hand if that shit's not tamed.
We're here to share how to simplify the little things to help you lead a more intentional life.
This is Simplified Chaos.
Hello, wonderful friends. Welcome to Simplified Chaos. This is Jillian, one of your hosts. I'm with my husband and co-host, Nicholas.
What's going on, folks? Hope you all are having a terrific week. Got another great episode here for you today. Jilly, what we talking about?
Today's topic is all about pretty much why we stopped watching the news.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the news. At all.
Neither am I, and
Yeah.
that's probably why we're talking about it, because it's made us a lot happier not watching it.
Yes, I agree with that. But before we get into that today, Jilly, what are you grateful for?
Boy, so many things. But since this just happened, I am grateful for technology to distract our daughter so we can watch a show.
Yeah, found a new series to watch. Well, it's not a new series. It's new to us. And it's not one of those ones where you want to watch right before we go to bed, because it's a little bit of a thriller. Keeps you on your toes, gets the adrenaline going.
It does, and then I can't go to sleep. So I'm like, we need to watch this like at least 2 hours before bed.
Yeah, and then podcast afterwards and whatnot, and put our daughter to bed. That'll wind us down pretty good.
So I'm grateful for, we just gave her the phone and said, she's just going to watch some videos while we get an episode in. And it was awesome. The show we just started watching is Luther, and it's pretty damn good. So if you're looking for a new show, it's a good one.
Yeah, it's got my man Idris Elba in it, who was in The Wire, Stringer Bell. But it's a good series. It's actually it was on the BBC, and then I know Netflix picked it up. It's probably still on Netflix, but we're watching it on Amazon Prime. And yeah, we're only 3 episodes in, but it's they hooked us and sunk us probably within the first 5 minutes of the first episode, first 10 minutes. It was good.
Yeah, it's just now, that's the only thing about finding a show that you're really hooked on. It's like trying to pace yourself and not binge it and watch it every night, and like trying to go steady and slow. So that way I'm not watching TV every night. It's just once in a while. It's a nice treat.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, good show. Check that out if you want to. I'm grateful for our host this past weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
That's actually what I thought you were going to say.
No, my memory's horseshit these days. So it's like usually I pick something that literally just happened. Within the last hour.
Good deal. But yeah, no, we traveled up to see some friends in Pennsylvania. They are in Concord. Is that what it was?
Glen
Mills, Concord, something like that. But yeah, Delaware County. I know that. It was a nice trip. It was an awesome trip, actually, just because of, it's fall, and, we got to see some really cool foliage on the way up there. But more importantly, they were just amazing hosts. It was so good to see them, and they rolled out the red carpet for us, and their son and Lucille had just an amazing time together. He's a couple of years older than Lucille, but is very understanding of where she is at this point, and it was just great with her. So it was a lot of fun hanging out with them and catching up and just seeing the kids play really well. So thank you guys.
Yeah, he busted out his little 4-wheeler. It was epic.
Oh yeah.
That was
a nice little cruise around the neighborhood. It was awesome.
It's just, sometimes I still can't believe this is my life. And it's like, Emmy is my childhood friend. So the fact that we're watching our kids play together, it's just really surreal.
Playing with stuff that you guys played with when you were kids.
Yeah, that's if, her parents had held on to like some of her toys and kitchen set. And I'm like, I remember that. Like, we played with that, Emmy. It's just so rad to like witness that and still be friends with friends that I met her in kindergarten. So it's just, it's awesome. Yes, extremely grateful for that as well.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
All right, Jilly.
Let's
dive into why we don't watch the news.
So
it sucks. The end.
We had this conversation when we were in Delaware visiting Nick's parents. We were on a date night, and all of a sudden we were just talking about how we kind of live in a bubble, per se. The bubble of not being attuned to the news, the world news, what everything's going around, and how we are a lot happier because we weren't always discussing the news and what's happening, because usually the discussion is negative.
It's mostly, if not 99% negative. I mean, to me, it's just a whole bunch of bickering. He said, she said, opinion, not fact. And it's not for me. I can't do that. I don't want to find myself getting angry at the TV because of what somebody's saying or what somebody's doing. It's just, I've got more important things in my life to worry about than what other people are doing. And I think that's where I fall philosophically. It's, worry about myself, and then, worry about my family, and then worry about my friends. But that's kind of the order, and that's the order it has to be in order for us to live a nice and peaceful life. I mean, it's the airplane, put the mask on first.
I love that analogy.
But it's so great when it comes
true.
to self-care and everything like that, it's such a great analogy. And it's true. You have to take care of yourself before you can take care of somebody else. And then you have to take care of your tribe before that tribe can take care of other folks. So, I mean, there's a lot that rings true to that. But yeah, for me, I'm not worried about what other people are doing, and nor do I really care at this point, because I just don't want to find myself lashing out or getting angry or have stress on my shoulders that doesn't need to be there. I've got other things I need to worry about besides what's going on outside of our bubble.
Yeah. And I was telling Nick, I think growing up, when I would hear people talk about how they would know everything that was going on in the world, I'd be like, wow, they're really smart. They're really educated. I want to be like that. But now what I know, it's I don't want to know everything, because then I'd be a miserable, really negative person. I wouldn't find the joy in the simple things if I was constantly being attuned to what's going on in the world, because what the media portrays is usually nothing really good.
Well, they all have their agenda. And that's, I think, the biggest problem. You hear a lot of things about unbiased news and, we're the most fact, whatever, however they want to spin it. But at the end of the day, we can all see right through it. We all know where each news network stands, and by the way that they go about business. And that's just not the way it is. It should be. It should be just the news and report on what's going on. But we have so many talking heads, so many opinions, people who are trying to mold the way that you should think. And I don't like that. I want to think for myself. I want to do the research myself. I don't need somebody who has an opinion and swings one way or another trying to sway my mind. I want to do that research myself, and I don't want to have anybody try to dictate to me how I should think and feel about certain things.
So I have an interesting quote that I found that I thought would start us off in the discussion.
You always have a quote to start us off.
When it just happened to be the author, Napoleon Hill, and I'm reading a book by him right now. But
Napoleon Hill's the man.
This book he wrote is called Think and Grow Rich, which is a very popular book.
Yes.
So here's the quote to kind of start us off. An educated person is not necessarily one who has an abundance of general or specialized knowledge. Any person is educated who knows where to get knowledge, when it is needed, and how to organize that knowledge into definite plans of action. And that's what I think about the news. Just me knowing the news isn't helping me plan and get to any of my goals and helping me put any plan in action. Mm-hmm. It's just all of this shit is thrown into me in my brain. Well, that sucks. Well, that sucks. Well, that's horrible. And then I'm left with fucking a headspace of crap. So it's it doesn't motivate me or inspire me to do anything. So I just thought it would be a kind of a good opener to just talk about some points why we stopped watching the news. And I had some down, but you can add on, I'm sure.
No, go for it. I'm going to just chime in because I've got a ton of things too.
So I
probably already started rattling some stuff off here earlier.
So the first one was relating to what I just said, that watching the news does nothing to move me closer to my goals. And honestly, anything that isn't helping me move closer to my goals is obviously holding me back. So I'm just why? Yeah. What's the purpose? Again, we just intentional living. What is the purpose of me watching the news? Is it going to help me be a better person? No.
No, and it's kind of funny. You talked about in our gratitude segment what you were grateful for, and you know, us having a chance to watch a show. If I want to fill my space with stuff that, you know, mindless or that's not going to help me get to my goals, it better at least be entertaining. And the news is far from freaking entertaining.
That's so true. So something else I wrote down was the news. So what relevance does that information bear to my day-to-day functioning? Like, how does the news help me in my everyday life?
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah. No, how is, you know, what somebody tweeted or, you know, what somebody said affecting me in my everyday life? It's not. And it's, again, no matter where you stand, somebody's always going to say something that you don't agree with. And that's all they're just glorifying. And they want you to hate, and they want you to get mad. They want you to get angry. They want you to hang on. They want you to tune in and see what this person's saying this time. And it's just a vicious cycle that'll never end. And it just keeps sucking people in. Well, and I'm not going to let it suck me in.
That's another thing. I feel like because the news isn't on just like 2 times a day anymore, like it used to be back in the day, like the 5 o'clock news or the 7 o'clock news. It's like news is constantly going 24/7. And to me, that's a lot of fucking time for something to steal. And it's not worth my time. It steals my time for creativity. It steals my time for my family. So anything that matters to me, the news steals my time. And for me, it's like, it's no.
Well, you know what's interesting about the news too? It is 24/7, but it's the same story every second, every hour of every day. And it's got to be tiring. Like, just that. And then you have other things that portray themselves as news, but they're not news at all. You know, a lot of these talk shows, and it's just like, you know, again, it's just opinionated stuff and things to get you to not think for yourself. At least in my opinion, it's things to get you to not think for yourself, to take sides, and to care about things that don't affect you in your everyday life. Now, are there things that are happening in our world that are directly impacted by the leaders of this country? Sure. You know, there are a lot of things. However, most of the stuff that they're talking about really does not have a great impact on your lives. At least that's the way I feel.
No, I 100% agree. And then the last thing I wrote is just, I'm trying to protect my spirit from contamination.
Yeah.
And I just think the news that's portrayed, like right now, it's just fucking trash. Like, it really is. If I really wanted to know something important, like, I could easily access it if I'm like, I want to know what's happening.
Sure.
In this country, even though I don't know why. Maybe I'm doing a research project for some reason. But to me, it's like, the news that's important is in our bubble. Like, my family, my friends, the people that I can touch, that I can literally help if I need to. I can take action and actually do something about it. I mean, that's just my thoughts on it, but.
Yeah, do you remember like when social media used to be the news about your friends and what they're doing and you know, how they're doing, or their kids and stuff like that? And it still is to a certain extent, but there's just so much stuff that's like mixed into that. I mean, the heyday of social media and that being all about your network of friends is kind of over. And it's kind of sad, you know. I'm glad we got to experience that, but at the same time, it's.
Do you mean like MySpace?
Even that, I mean, hell yeah. I mean, you got to really know somebody's personality from MySpace by the page that they built, the music that they had on there, the photos that they shared.
The 7 top friends.
Yeah, exactly. No, and it's crazy just how that went away. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it used to be just about, you know, friends and what they're doing, and
well, it still is like that on Facebook.
It is, but it's not the same. You know, it's to me,
because
it feels different.
A lot of people kind of mimic the news to me. There are a lot of people that I don't follow, but that are just as negative. But I think it's just like this ripple effect, like what they're consuming, they become. So if you're consuming this negative stuff, it's like when it's finally time for them to speak and spread something out on Facebook, it's usually negative if that's what they consume. So for me, it's like, I want to consume what I want to portray. I want to consume what I want to be.
Right.
And the news is nothing. There's no kind of vibe that I like about the news.
No.
So it's like, why even consume it if it's not going to help me? Like, you know, be that person.
Yeah. I mean, even like local news to that point is, you know, when they really started to talk, you know, especially around here, at least in Baltimore, it's like, all right, let's go through the last 5 murders that just happened in the last 2 days. So no good news there. And then there may be something that's really relevant to you that's going on in your area. maybe there's a gas leak or something like that's in there. That's news. But I mean, it's just so full of negativity, and again, we don't want to invite that in our lives, and so we politely tune out.
We do. Ignorance is bliss when it comes to me with that. Like, I think you even mentioned that when we were talking on our date night. Like, there is something to be said about ignorance is bliss, because not knowing everything makes us happier. Yeah. Bottom line.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that we're completely oblivious to whatever's going on in the world. We know what's important, and if there is something that affects us, we're going to look into it. Obviously, with the pandemic, we want to kind of be up to date. We want to know when cases are spiking. We have travel plans for later on in November, and if cases are spiking, that might change our plans. So of course we're following developments there, but I'm not tuned into the news 24/7 to hear where we're at in the pandemic all the time. So it has its place, but I'd rather consume that information from a reputable resource online rather than, again, these talking heads who, that's all they are. Like,
all I think of is the band every time you keep saying Talking Heads.
Psycho Killer. God, the Talking Heads are so good.
So I have a really, really good resource that I thought you could chime in as well. But I thought our discussion may be pretty short, just because I found this really great blog post that kind of sums up everything we're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a short discussion because it can be as simple as the news sucks.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why is what was really important that we talk about is that, again, we don't want to consume that because it's not impacting our goals and where we want to be. And, we've got to stay focused on what's important to us. So yeah, but let's dive into this resource here, Jilly. I'm always excited for these things.
Man, when I actually Googled why you should stop watching the news, or, benefits of stop watching the news, so many great blog posts came up. I found this one. It was from ebizfacts.com, and it's titled "Why You Should Stop Watching the News."
Brilliant title.
So he lists 7 reasons why you should stop watching the news. Number 1, the news is depressing. I think we'll just end on that one. But yeah, basically just saying how it's just,
that goes without
you're
saying.
Feeding yourself an overwhelming amount of negativity, which infects your thoughts. And so freaking true.
100%.
Number 2, the news is a poor representation of reality.
That goes back to saying that they're all trying to spin their narrative, and what they're saying might not necessarily reflect what's really going on.
Yeah, he goes on to just say that, we're led to believe that the world is a brutal and heartless place, and all that bad news breeds fear and distrust into us. And I think that's what people, and even reading this book by Napoleon Hill, just the number one thing that people that hold them back is fear.
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome to see John Krasinski do that Good News Network thing or whatever that was, because awesome. And it was at a time that it was needed the most. And I don't know if that's still going on or not, but it was great just to see that, because it is a lot of negativity. It is a lot of depressing things, and we're not celebrating the good news that's happening as much as we should.
It's kind of like, since I am a teacher, I'm bringing to the kid thing, but we were taught when I was in college, or even how I was growing up, that there's negative consequences for negative behavior. But as a parent, now that I'm learning about raising children and even teaching, and the best way to deal with negative behavior is to actually find the root cause, instead of saying, I'm going to punish you with this. It's like you want to get to the root cause and find the good to motivate that person, versus slamming them and saying, well, you did this, so this is what negative things are going to happen to you. And it's kind of like the news. It's, if you want good shit to happen, you gotta spread the good shit, no matter how hard it is or what things that are happening. So yeah,
they're scared that people won't tune in if they just talk about good shit.
Yeah, I get it, because our brains are wired to tune into. I mean, there's all these chemical things that it even talks about in the blog, and I won't get into the science of it because I'm not an expert in it, but it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, number 3, everything in the news is beyond your circle of influence.
Boom.
And it just goes on saying that our circle of influence is literally the people that we can help like solve problems, like the people in our circle, like family, close friends,
Yeah.
local businesses, neighbors. So, I mean, that's kind of what we were saying about our bubble. I guess we called our circle of influence our little bubble.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things that we had in that conversation, I'm glad you mentioned that, is, we see through the lens on a national level, and we very rarely see through the lens of our local level, and we don't get involved in our local politics and whatnot, because we're taught to consume this stuff at a national level. I mean, all the news that we see is all about what's going on nationally, but if we really want to effectuate change, it starts with you, it starts with your family, it starts with your friends, and then it starts with you and your community, and going out to your local meetings and whatnot, and that's really what's going to drive the change that's needed for us to feel much better as people, for us to feel less stress, less anxiety, because everything, again, all this stuff we're consuming on a national level, and just everything that's going on is just feeding that fear, that stress, that anxiety, whatever it is that we're feeling.
I agree.
And yeah, so keep it local.
Yes. Okay. Number 4, you don't need to stay informed. And he goes, and this is kind of what I was saying.
Yeah.
The most common response I hear to the above arguments goes something like this: I watch the news to stay informed. I like to know what's going on in my area and around the world. And he goes on and saying, first of all, I'm not sure how anyone can in quotes, absorbing information that affects their thoughts and emotions in a negative way. That's certainly not my idea of a good time. And he just goes on about the idea that you, quote unquote, missing out. Like, there's nothing to it. Like, you're not missing out by missing the news at all. Not at all. All right, number 5, you'll never know it all anyway.
Don't care to.
And let's see, number 6, you can catch up quickly if you need to.
Yeah, Google.
Oh my God, so fast.
Yeah, synopsis. You can just see by the headlines what's going on.
And number 7, consuming the news takes time, which is a huge thing for me. Obviously, time is something we value, and anything that steals my time and isn't adding to my life in any way, like, bye. Yeah,
you're not getting that time back at all. And again, it's not adding value for us. It can just add that stress, anxiety that we keep talking about, and we choose to block that out.
Yeah, so I thought that was like a great blog post that pretty much summed up all of our reasons and then some.
Another great resource there, Jilly. You do so good with those.
The internet.
Goddamn internet. Love it.
I'm not informed about everything in the world, but when I want to find a blog post, I can find it.
On the internet. On the line. All right. And
cool.
Do you have any other resources, or are we jumping into that quote of the day here?
That was it for
all right.
me. I'm curious to hear if anyone else feels the same way. Like, anyone listening, like, shoot us a holler on Instagram, or just to hear your thoughts on the news.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we're not alone in this. I don't know if it's a generation thing. Like, I know the older generation is very keen on watching the news.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just curious to hear what other people's thoughts are.
And if you are watching the news and are looking to stop, challenge yourself to, take it away for a day, and then see if you can take it away for 2 or 3 or 5 a month. Start small, but I'm curious to see if you're able to eliminate that from your daily habits or rituals, whatever you want to call it. See how much better you feel after doing that. It's kind of the same thing like with dieting and stuff like that. You take something out.
I hate dieting. Don't talk about dieting.
I'm trying to make a comparison here. Come on.
I know. I just can't stand it.
But, if you eliminate something and you feel better, well, then you know what the root cause is, what I was just trying to say.
Oh, like elimination diets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll feel you with that.
Yeah. Gotta let me finish here.
I know. It's just the wording. As soon as I hear diets, I'm like, ugh, you're not my person.
I guess I gotta go.
No, you know how I am about. I know. I'm done.
How about that quote of the day?
I know. We're totally off track. Sorry. All right. The quote of the day is by Tim Ferriss. He wrote this in the 4-Hour Workweek, which I've heard is interesting.
Okay, I was wondering why that name sounded familiar, but I am familiar with the 4-Hour Workweek.
I heard a lot of great things about that book, so maybe I should seek that one out. All right, here it is. It is imperative that you learn to ignore or redirect all information and interruptions that are irrelevant, unimportant, or unactionable. Most or all 3.
I'm going to go with all 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good job, Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
I dig it. All right, and that takes action challenge there, Jilly.
Take action challenge, I guess, is just don't consume anything that's not getting you closer to being the person you want to be.
Well said.
Thank you.
I love that.
I need to write that down because I'll probably forget when I
Or
type.
just re-listen to this. All right, folks. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode. If you like this episode, please do us a favor and help us spread the message. You can do this by writing a review or simply by sharing this episode with a friend. And remember, sharing sparks a conversation leads to action, and action is how we're able to live a happy and intentional as hell lifestyle. We want to thank you all for listening today, and we will see you again next week.
See y'all later.